What's up everyone? Welcome to the channel. I am Harrison and you are here for Tutorial Tuesday. What is Tutorial Tuesday? Tutorial Tuesday is every single Tuesday I teach you how to draw some of your favorite characters. And today is Ichigo Kurosaki.
Ever since the powers of the Soul Reaper were thrust upon me, my whole world has changed. Now I'm Ichigo Kurosaki, substitute Soul Reaper, and I'm combining my powerful spirit energy with this blade in order to protect my friends!
I find him to be one of my top 4 favorite anime characters of all time. I just love that he's incredibly powerful. He's a samurai, he's got some awesome powers, great friendships, he goes to the coolest places. I actually based my new Dungeons & Dragons character off of him, and I'm very excited for that. That's a story for another time, but Ichigo is just so cool, and I love his style. I love the way that his character evolves and develops over time, and today we are drawing him. So grab your pencils, pens, sketchbooks, and zanpakuto, and let's slice on into this one. Drawing is a very interesting thing. You can either get the pose and the look of the character immediately, or it might take you many tries. For me, Ichigo, for some reason, was very difficult to nail right away. So it took me a few different attempts to get him to a place where I liked the way that it was starting to come out. I tried a few different circles, I just tried going for it, and then I landed somewhere in between. So in the middle of your page, start with a nice big circle for the skull, and then we can drop in the lower part of the jaw, add 2 lines for his neck, and then we could indicate his ears, and then dash in a little bit of his clothing so his head is not just floating on the page. I'm very sorry in advance because this is going to be a rough one. You are going to see me struggle a lot through this drawing, and even as a professional artist, we have our moments where we struggle. Just because we make it look easy, we do it every day, doesn't mean that we don't also have our struggles. My biggest weakness when drawing is I need my drawing to look exactly like the reference I'm pulling it from, and for some reason I have not broken that habit, and so I really try to get my drawing to be exact. As Tite Kubo drew Ichigo, so for me, instead of just leaning into my own style, I really try to emulate and replicate the original art. So I find myself getting very frustrated at times when it's not looking the exact way I want it to look, so that's why I erase often in this process. So now that we have all of that, at the base of the jaw, dash in a line for the mouth. You can add guidelines for the ears. If you want to put them all the way across the face, you can do that so that the ears are in line with each other. Just below that guideline we made for the ears, drop in a little upside down triangle for his nose. I'm using my eraser here again because his jaw is not elongated enough. Ichigo has a very long, narrow face, and for some reason I wasn't quite doing that at first, and then I kind of realized that that's part of what wasn't exactly there. We can then re-add all the facial features that we initially put down. We can add some definition to Ichigo's mouth. If you look at his top lip, it looks like a letter M, or like one of those seagulls or bird drawings you would have done in kindergarten where it's just the little M swoops. Think of his lips like that, and his bottom lip is a hard line across. And then don't forget the under lip, which is just like a stretched out U. Again, I found his jaw to be not narrow enough, so erasing all of the facial shapes, not his nose and mouth, we're going to re-attempt his jaw. Now that I'm much more happy with the size and shape of Ichigo's head, the proportions really didn't change. We just kind of opened up the face a little bit more. It was too narrow in like the width of the head, but not narrow enough in the lower jaw. The only downside to drawing traditionally is you can't lasso tool your pencils and stretch them and pull them, and that's the only one thing I don't like about traditional drawing, is that you can't just use a digital tool and stretch out your drawing or like morph it and change it to get you to where you want it. But hey, erasing and redrawing, it just helps you get a better image in the end. Now we're gonna start dashing in some of Ichigo's hair. I talk a lot about hair when it comes to anime characters. If you want to be exact to the style of hair of your character, I highly recommend that you look at a reference photo. I always have a reference photo. There's one off camera on my computer screen that I'm looking at while drawing this, or I'm making sure I'm hitting the majority of those shapes of his hair. The one thing with anime characters are if you don't get the hair right and you miss a few chunks, it throws the whole thing off. So you want to make sure you get the majority of those larger key areas down so that it looks correct. And now for the eyes. I'm not going to tell you how to do this part of the process because they look like crap. I was having a very off day. You can tell by the amount of times I was erasing and redrawing. Once I put these eyes down, you can see that this is just not Ichigo. It's not good. It does not look good.
Now that just pisses me off.
And honestly, that's okay. I want to show you that even as someone who has been drawing for 20 years, you can still have off days, and no matter how hard you try, despite all of your hard effort, it will still not come out the way you want it. That's okay. That's where your drawing magic truly comes into power. If you stop, erase, and start over, don't give up, because the moment you give up, the moment you let your frustrations and your doubts and all those negative thoughts win. If you can do yourself that favor and just take a deep breath, erase all the things that don't look right, and just start fresh, you'll end up with a great drawing. It might take you a few tries, but you will do it, I promise. So keeping all of Ichigo's hair and head outlined, we're gonna redo the entire interior face. We can redash in his mouth, add a little upside down triangle for his nose, add the bridge of the nose, which is going to take up that majority of that guideline we initially put down for the ears. And then don't forget the little triangle shape of shadow. Now we can dash in the eyes. Ichigo's eyes are very different than most anime. Tite Kubo used a lot of detail in the eye. They are almost almond shaped. There's going to be a lot of shadow, so I would suggest you either follow me very closely or use reference again and follow the reference. Now that we have both of the eyes down, we can add shading and some finer detail around the rest of the drawing. Once again, I have found myself not liking this drawing at all. There's something still off despite the amount of detail, the amount of patience I've put into it, and we're gonna start the eyes over. Because the face, the nose, and the mouth are finally in a place that I am really happy about. So we're just gonna erase the eyes. And honestly, let's just focus on a different area of the drawing for now. I think we're spending too much time on the eyes. We can focus on another part, give ourselves a little break, and come back to it. So focusing on the neck and shoulders, we're gonna drop in some shadow and some suggestions of his clothing. The shadow on his neck are just varying lines of hatching and cross hatching. You're gonna wanna add more hatching in areas that have deeper shadows, and then areas that are just stark black, you can just shade them in completely. We can add some more detail to Ichigo's hair. It's very shaggy, so if you wanna add more spikes and just detail to make it look more shaggy, feel free to do that. Now we can attempt the eyes for like the 50th time. The idea here is the same as it was before. His eyes are almond shaped. His eyebrows are very thin and they're angled. He's kind of in, not angry, but he is in an action focused mode here. Add the pupils and shade them in. We can go through and shade in any area that needs shadow or just filled in for inking. This next part of the process might scare you because you're gonna see me erase the entire thing, but I am erasing very lightly. I'm erasing all of our sketchy lines because we have gone over this drawing so many times. There are so many different pencil lines and things happening here that I am doing a light, very light erasing over the entire image so I can take a softer leaded pencil and just draw the lines that I want to keep for inking. And this is actually a very common technique for a lot of comic book artists and hand-drawn animation. You draw your sketch down first, erase a lot of your old lines, go over it with a soft lead pencil, which is going to be much darker than your typical HB pencil, and that way you keep all of the lines that you actually want to ink, and then you can move forward. So for the inking, I am using my handy dandy dip pen and brush today. As always, I am starting left to right and top to bottom. With Ichigo, Tite Kubo uses a very fine line. There is a lot of heavy black in his inking, but for the majority, his line work is very fine. I love his style. He's got the best inks I have seen, or they're just my favorite. I just love the style. I always look at his work from when I want to replicate something in my own work. If I'm working on my own comics, I look at his inking and the way he does shadow and depth. I think he's just one of the masters, one of the greats. By no means do you need a dip pen and a brush to complete your inks. If you want to ink this drawing alongside with me, you can use a pen, a different color pencil. You can use whatever you want, a Sharpie. You may just need to go over your lines a little bit more, add some more thickness, but you don't need to use a dip pen. If you are interested in learning how to use a dip pen and a brush to ink your drawings, please let me know in the comments below. I will make a guided tutorial on how to do this. I think using a dip pen gives you the best quality inks. You have such a fine control over the pen. Once you get the hang of it, it's going to be your best friend and you'll never want to go backwards. To fill in the large areas of black ink, I'm using my brush pen. This is a portable pen, almost like a Sharpie, but it's got a fine brush tip and you can refill the ink if you need to. Now going back to the dip pen, I am adding in all of the hatching for the shadows. To get the hatching, you're just doing very quick, fast motions with the flick of your wrist. You can go in any direction. As I said before, changing the direction of your hatchings will create a darker pattern, so the more hatching you add, the darker the area will get. And for our last step, we are going to erase, but wait, please wait 15 to 20 minutes before you erase. You don't want your inks to smudge. This has already been a frustrating drawing. Why ruin it now when we're happy with our result? Just wait that 15 to 20 minutes, let your ink set into the paper. You never know how your ink will react to your paper, so give it that time to set and just dry, and then once you do, feel free to erase. And there we have it. Here's Ichigo. I don't know how I feel about this drawing. We did it. We finished it. It's not my best work in this entire series of tutorials. I struggle with liking this one. I can still see a lot of problems with it, but hey, that's just the name of the game. I mean, at least we created and completed a drawing. We didn't give up. I think that's the biggest thing for new artists. Don't give up on your drawings. Sure, you might get frustrated, but restart, try again. Don't give up, because you don't want to get further down the line and get frustrated. And if you end up wanting to get into a career in some sort of art-related field, you don't want to get to a point where if you can't tackle the task that you're trying to do, you're just going to get frustrated and give up. You're going to get fired. Like, your boss needs you to do X, Y, Z, and if you can only do X and Y, but Z is giving you a lot of troubles, you can't just not do it. So my suggestion to you would be, go for it, get through the struggle, you'll eventually get there. We did. This might not be the most fantastic drawing of Ichigo I've ever done, but we completed it. We got through the struggle. It took a lot of erasing and starting over, but sometimes that's really what you have to do. Maybe step away from it. I wish I would have stood back, maybe propped it up on my easel, and I could have seen how things were skewed. But sometimes when we draw flat down on the table, we are already in a skewed line of vision, so it kind of throws off a lot of things. I really need to start using my easel a little bit more so that things are more parallel, like perpendicular to my face. Actually, parallel, there we go. But there's all parallel in line with my face so that I am actually looking on one plane. I think a lot of skewed and interesting things happen when our heads are angled weird. So we can chalk it up to that, and that it was kind of a funky day, but we did it and we finished. So thank you so much for watching today. If you got something out of today's lesson, please give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And then once you do, hit that bell notification so you know when I upload the next tutorial. If for some reason you did not enjoy today's video, and I'm sure I know why, but please let me know down in the comments why. Is there something I can do better to help you learn the characters that you would love to know how to draw? And on that note, if there's a character that you would like to know how to draw but you have not seen in the playlist, please let me know who that is in the comments below, and I will add them to the ongoing playlist. If you've been following along with Tutorial Tuesday for the last few months, I would love to see the work that you're doing. Please tag me in your Instagram and TikTok posts, and then you can also follow me there and see all the other things that I'm doing day to day. Thank you again for joining me. I will see you next week with another awesome tutorial. Hopefully, I'll be more on my game, but we shall see. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Did you actually think that would work?
Huh? Well, I figured if I just kept chopping away on him like a giant tree, I'd eventually bring him down to the point where I could whack him on the head.